Hello there everyone, welcome back to another Gate Ruler video, children's trading card game time. Today we have all the rulers for the set 3 format and we have all the buffs, and it's time to talk tiers because we all know that's what gets the clicks, and clicks get me safe for work. Let's get started, but first a word from my sponsor, Triple Sleeve TCG. If you want to pick up some set 3 stuff, please use my affiliate link in the description. Help support the channel, would be very much appreciated. Thank you, Sundial, my Simian level supporter. Reminder to enter the Gate Ruler 1K, $1,000 worth of prize support is on the line. Enter, it's on the 13th of November. It'll be a cracking time. I hope to see you there, because I'll be there. Let's get started then with the topic of today's video. We got the rulers. We're going to talk through, we're just going to have a casual chat, and we're going to go through and I'm going to explain my thoughts on the tier list. So if you haven't seen the last tier list, you can find that in there, top right hand corner. But the TLDR is Apprentice good, everything else not. So I've renamed tiers, I've done a little bit of a jiggering around, is that a word? So this is going to go from unfair, very strong, playable, a bit weak, and oof. So just a sort of explanation of those tiers. Oof is sort of tier. A bit weak is like a little buff. Just a little buff. It's just, you know, it's like I could play this, but it's like there's nothing necessarily that really grabs me and makes me go like, yeah, I want to play this ruler. Or it's very, you know, niche. Playable. It's fine, you can build a deck around this ruler, using this ruler, build a deck for the ruler, and it'll probably work quite well. You'll see some reasonable success. Very strong, these are probably going to be your go-tos, the ones we expect to see lots and lots of tops from, and unfair is the ones that are totally broken. I don't think we have any of those in this set, but it is very early days with absolutely zero testing, so that could very much change. It's so early days, in fact, the set isn't out for another 2 weeks. So, you know, at the time of this recording, this is where this is coming from. But I just figured you'd want to know, you want to see my impressions because I'm fucking vain, I suppose. Let's get started with an easy one. RPS Junkie, straight in oof tier. We don't even know how this is coming to English, but I'm not overly broken up about it. It is a drive ruler with a level limit of 40, which sort of no matter what benefits you give it, kind of immediately invalidates it as anything playable, really. It's a meme ruler. It's mainly an homage to Gone from Hunter x Hunter. I think that's sort of the main goal for it. So, you know, it's cool, but fine. Let's get on to the real stuff. And we're going to start with... Let's start with one of the new ones. Let's start with Overlord. Overlord, brand new ruler. Shown probably like 2 months ago now to break up the monotony of set 2 format. And I'm going to put Overlord in very strong tier. Let me explain why. So I'm making these recommendations, tierings, whatever, based on the current card pool, as well as to an extent future potential. Of course, you know, the current card pool is fairly important. And Overlord, I think, has very, very strong potential in the future. And right now, it's an incredible ruler because it makes almost anything viable in it. There are a relatively few number of builds you might want to do that would not be possible in Overlord, and that's usually going to be because they are extremely high level centric. So something like Genesis Summon is probably not going to work using Overlord because you need lots of big things. You need lots of level 3s, you need lots of level 4s, all that sort of stuff. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to actually make that work, though, you know, it could work, but it probably won't. A majority of stuff, though, you can just chuck it in Overlord. You're going to be able to spam cards, you know, every single turn. You can play all the draw power you want, and it's very affordable. And a lot of the time, you know, defense isn't a massive priority for these decks. So giving up defensive capabilities isn't something the deck is overly concerned about. A lot of the time, the defense might only be through counters or through units rather than events anyway. So, yeah, Overlord straight into very strong tier. Let's grab a ruler from set 2, and we're going to go with go with Berserker. And I'm going to put Berserker in playable. And, you know, on the one hand, like, I am inclined to include the best, to sort of factor in the best possible builds, but this is a sort of ruler tier list, so I want to be a little bit more abstract and really evaluate the ruler in and of itself. And if there's only like 1 or 2 viable builds of a ruler, it probably doesn't mean it's super, super strong. However, Berserker, you know, it has a level limit of 120, so, you know, every card this deck plays is going to be very impactful, and you can do some really silly stuff, like you can play 4 Cat, 4 Ed, you can play 4 other new Cat that just got shown today as the time of this recording. You can play like all sorts of silly stuff in this same deck, just by including pink. So I think Berserker is very, very good. Its builds aren't always going to be super strong, and like you're never really going to bother playing blue because it's so hand-based, so realistically it is only going to be pink-red. And pink-red, almost approaching very strong, but, you know, in terms of just sheer value as a ruler, I don't think it's fair to put Berserker on the same tier as Overlord. Overlord is so good as a ruler. Arguably the best ruler in the game, and I might decide on that, but yes, this is very, very good. Let's go ahead and blitz through some set 1 rulers now. We'll start, in fact, let's do all the set 1 rulers, because they're all in the same tier, in my opinion, and this is maybe going to be a very, very hot take. We are going to throw all of these guys in here, and they're for different reasons, actually. So, yeah, all of the set 1 rulers we're going to chuck in a bit weak, and for Knight, that's actually because of card pool. It's not that Knight is bad, and that's a very welcome change from before when it was because Knight was bad. Knight is actually fine. The problem is now we have reached a stage in the game where the sort of decks you want to be playing decks that are complemented by the ruler playstyle, or you build your deck specifically for the ruler. And there are very few decks that match Knight well. And I would argue that the only reason those decks match Knight well is because they don't really have a better home at the moment. Knight is a very bog standard ruler. So before, whilst you might have played Darkness, Genesis Summon, this sort of red-blue military, all these sort of things, now almost all of those have migrated away, a lot of them to Overlord, some of them to Wizard or Trickster, as we'll see, like Alice, for example, a very clear example, a deck that was designed for Wizard. Wizard was so bad that they all played Knight, and, you know, following that Wizard buff, they've moved right back to Wizard, and Knight is losing a lot of viability in that sense. So I think Knight is a little bit weak. What would fix it? Maybe a 5-card start might be enough, just having that sheer amount of card advantage. But I think, honestly, there isn't really an issue with Knight in and of itself. It's just card pool, and we're just going to have to see more cheap options enter the game in the form of events that are sort of interaction-based, that don't cost anything, because otherwise you would argue you should play Wizard. And, you know, they're going to have to be reasonably good events, but not so good that they're better than the ones that are in Wizard. It's sort of a, you know, I think it will be a set 4 sort of deal. At the moment, we're just going to have to settle with Knight chilling, but I think that's fine. Highlander, I think, is just bad. In fact, I'm going to put Highlander in oof tier, actually. I don't think there's any reason to play Highlander at all. It's, you know, sure, okay, you get 20 CNTs, that's very good, don't get me wrong, but you only have a level limit of 50. And it's not like you can play loads of cards to upgrade. You can get 60 reasonably easily if you play red, but there's not a great deal of amazing options you can be running. And yeah, I just think they should have had a level limit raise. I think that I understand why they didn't. They wanted to err on the side of caution. They really don't. They would much rather undertune and buff again later than overtune and have to nerf. I think we'd all agree that's the better approach. So yeah, I do think Highlander, they just went, nah, it's, you know, we're not going to risk breaking the game on another drive ruler, so they put it there. An Apprentice is better than Highlander for sure, but still not good. I'd say significantly worse than Knight. I think this doesn't really... So, in fact, okay, I'm going to bump Knight up to playable tier, only just to show that I really think Apprentice is just... not good. Like, it's still not bad. It's just like I really feel like there's only one viable build of Apprentice now, and that is going to be this sort of Darumageddon top-setting supernatural deck, and I think that'll probably be pretty good. But as a ruler, it's, you know, if you're a one-trick and your one-trick isn't even going to be that good, I mean, I think it'll probably be pretty good, but maybe tier 2, tier 1.5 at best, potentially rogue status. Yeah, I think that there's definitely work that can be done there. Let's move on to some more buffs. And we'll start with Wizard. And I think Wizard should be going up in very strong tier along with Overlord. And that's because this is going back to what I said with Knight, where essentially, if the deck you want to build, you start with Knight, you put your deck together, and you look at it. And if your deck is very aggro-focused, it doesn't necessarily care so much about the defense, and any defense it does run is in the form of counters or in the form of units, then you immediately just pivot straight into Overlord. There's absolutely no reason to hang around on Knight, you pivot into Overlord. If your deck is much more defensive, much more interaction focused, and you want to be doing lots of disruptive things, well, you immediately pivot into Wizard. There's absolutely no reason to stay with Knight because Wizard just simply offers you far more utility. It's far more defensive, and Overlord is far more offensive. Knight, unfortunately, straddles that sort of middle ground barrier that isn't very powerful at the moment. And I think Wizard is a very powerful ruler, up there absolutely with Overlord in terms of strength. And I think these two are probably the best rulers in the game. And I think they're very, very good. Next, let's do Legion, because I am very conflicted on this. I really want to put it in very strong tier, but I'm probably going to have to just put it in playable, because, you know, as fun as these gimmick decks are, and as biased as I am towards them, and as ridiculous as 20 CNTs is, don't get me wrong, it is ridiculous. It has a lot of benefits over Highlander. You know, you don't have to play any. You know, you get so firstly along like Highlander, you get 3 factions, 3 legends, 20 CNTs. That's insane. You get a 3-card start in Legion, and you know, low level limit, which means you can play whatever the hell you want. Which I think immediately makes it very, very strong, and that's why I'm putting it at the typically top of playable tier. I do think it's very, very good. But I will admit that I'm also very, very biased for this ruler, so, you know, maybe it shouldn't be that high. I do think it's solid, though. I think the buff was very, very solid for Legion. And I do think that, you know, 3 factions, 3 legends, don't sleep on the power of that, right? Like, these legends are very good, and, you know, 3 factions. The biggest detriment at the moment to Legion is not being able to play a shit ton of SRs. You can only play 6 SRs at the moment, when lots of decks will be playing 8 to 12. So that is something that sucks. However, the reason I'm putting it this high is, again, future potential. As we get more of them, Legion's just going to keep one-offing every single one of those. Like, they're just going to be vibing. So, yeah, lots of very, very powerful options that Legion has. Let's move on to the final 2 new rulers, and we'll start with Dreadnought. And I'm going to put Dreadnought in playable tier. And I think I'm going to put it below Knight. Actually, I'm going to put it above Knight. I think it is more playable than Knight. I think there's more viable builds you can do with Dreadnought. I think it has I think it's doing this sort of aggro thing, right? Like, and this is sort of an issue where, like, the best rulers in the game are very much aggressive, with the exception of Wizard. And Trickster to an extent, but you know, Trickster just has so much life that it's sort of like, okay, sure. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of the metagame is very aggressive. Maybe not the best rulers, but a lot of the metagame is very aggressive. So Dreadnought is sort of, you know, slotting right into there. It has a lot of aggressive tools, and I think just the card pool lends itself very well to this sort of structured way of attacking, where you can play one thing, swing with it, play, you know, maybe plus off that, swing with your ruler, get something else, maybe plus off that. It flows very nicely, and I think this is this is, in my opinion, Dreadnought is what Apprentice should have been. You know, not necessarily with the card pool, but I remember saying, like, oh, a nerf to Apprentice could be like, oh, you only get the drives on attack. Like, that would be better in my opinion, just because it slows down the deck a lot. And of course, Dreadnought does that, but it's far more aggressive. You're not able to play this sort of Darumagedon style deck. You'll still play Darumagedon in the deck, of course, but you're not able to play this advantage gaining style. But I think that's fine. I think the rule is pretty good, and I don't think there's anything to worry about with it. Finally, we've got Trickster, and I think Trickster is very good. However, I think, you know, when considering just how many potential builds there are, I can see Wizard having a good number. I can see Overlord having the most potential builds in the game. Trickster, I think, probably doesn't have that many. It's going to have a good few, but I think compared to those two, it's not. And I think it's very solid, but yeah, just by comparison, I think I'm going to have to put it here. I am going to rank it above Berserker. In fact, I'm going to rank Knight above Dreadnought. I just think energy is just significantly better in this set. So yeah, resources rather. But yeah, I think Trickster is very, very, very good. By no means is it a bad ruler, and the most powerful decks are going to be bloody terrifying. But in terms of just the strength of the ruler, I do think that it's sort of middle of the pack relative to everything else. So just to recap, from best to worst, in my opinion, the very best two rulers in the game are Overlord and Wizard, and I would say they're probably about as good as one another. Overlord may be edging in a little bit. Then into playable tier, I think Legion, Trickster, Berserker, Knight, and Dreadnought are all, reasonably close to one another. I do definitely think this is in order of how good they are, and it is sort of noticeable. But I don't think there's a colossal difference between the rulers in this tier. I do think there's a reasonably noticeable step up between playable and very strong, but not massive. I think there's a pretty clear step down between playable and very weak, which is a bit weak, which is where I've put Apprentice, and I think oof tier is just a meme, and you shouldn't really bother playing any of these. But I would say 70% of your rulers being competitive or certainly viable is not bad at all. We'll see how much of the metagame this represents, but for now, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video today and found it informative, useful. Let me know what you think. Is my tier list utter bullshit? Let me know in the comment section down below. Join my Discord server, link in the description. Again, affiliate link, all that sort of stuff. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.